One, you're on.
Hi, welcome to the pre-bin meeting for the Basalt River Park Phase 1. If you're on Zoom, if you could just chat whether or not you can hear us, that would be great. And then we can start. Can you hear us, Mr. Stone and Phil?
Bill is me.
That's
Oh, sorry.
I think you only have that one per,
Yeah.
well, no, there's, both of those are you?
Can you hear us? Test, test.
Oh, I got the sign in down there.
There you go, I can hear now.
Okay, great, you can hear, perfect. For introductions, my name is Catherine Christoph. I'm the Basalt Town Engineer, and with me from town staff, I have Susan Philp, the Planning Director, and James Lint, the Assistant Planning Director. We also have Stephanie Helfenbein with Sopris Engineering, and Heather Henry with Connect One Design, and Elise Wolf has been involved in the project. She's not here today, but can be around to help answer questions as we go. And I guess I'll give a quick orientation, then I'll let these guys take it from here on the design. The project is generally located right here in this aerial image at the corner of Two Rivers Road in Midland. And Basalt, to orient you, Basalt Town Hall is right here, and the art base is here, and this is where the work will be occurring. And I'll let Heather can proceed from here. Copy your agenda.
Hand me that, yeah. Okay, so this is basically a two-phase project. So what the bid that you have in front of you right now is what we're considering phase one. So phase one is primarily utilities, earth moving, so you're getting kind of all that final grading in place, trails, and then the plaza. Okay, so the plaza, Catherine, if you want to kind of outline, you know, the plaza is everything from the corner, you know, of Midland and Two Rivers, all the way that sort of arced area. Yep, and up adjacent to, so the purple line is the private development. And so everything that's happening to the left of that is part of the Basalt River Park LLC development, not to be confused with our Basalt River Park. So yeah, this phase one is all about the earth moving, trails, and the concrete plaza that you see, okay? So the documents really proceed through that. So what it does not include is like planting, final irrigation, sod for the big lawn area, and then a lot of the other site furnishings. So there's a band shell, there's a misting feature. These are all kind of coming into phase two. So all of this is this prep phase to get everything ready to pretty much move the project directly into phase two at the beginning of next year. Let's see. So we can, in terms of irrigation, I think it is important to clarify that there's a certain amount, so there's an irrigation system out there right now, all the way from a main line to laterals and all the spray heads, you know, that was keeping the grass that you see out there going since installation. So it's important to understand part of this phase does have to demo part of that irrigation and like cap portions of that off, etc., and have that main line back in and ready to go again to move directly into phase two. Phase two would include finishing off all the laterals, etc. But you will see in the materials plan, sleeving and things like that, conduit that needs to be run. So between the civil set and the landscape, there's a lot of, again, that preparatory where you're getting the sleeving in, you're getting all the conduit in so that everything can be pulled during phase two. What am I missing? So we had on the agenda this kind of discussion around site at the end of the project. So meaning, when the work is finished up at this phase one, what does it actually look like to get ready then to just sit a little bit for the winter and then move into this phase two? So what we want to make sure is that we are leaving a clean and somewhat usable site for the winter so people can circulate on the crusher fines paths that were put in, et cetera. Okay, so we have a certain amount of like erosion control that we're putting up, and then we're asking for any open dirt areas to just be sprayed down with a tackifier. So just to kind of keep the dust down. God forbid it doesn't snow and, you know, just remains really dry and windy. We're trying to not leave just this open dirt site. And so that's, that you need to make sure that you're including that in your bid as to how you're leaving the site at the end of this phase one.
I think that covers that. I can talk about the construction, neighboring construction, if you want to move into that. So this site is going to kind of blow up this summer. You most likely are all aware that we're redoing Two Rivers Road, starting at Midland Avenue, all the way west to the chicane at RMI. That work is being overseen by FCI, who is the developers. GC, who is also managing the construction of the restaurant, which is on the west end of the park, which is slated to break ground here soon. It has broken ground. And the restaurant work directly kind of impacts the park because there's a sewer service that they're installing. There's a sewer main that runs through the park from the bridge and diagonally across to the southwest side of the development parcel. So the restaurant is going to be installing a sewer service across the park, and the development parcel is going to be installing a 8-inch water line that kind of follows the alignment of the existing sewer line across the park. That work hopefully will start here mid-July to be completed ahead of our anticipated start date of beginning of August, correct? The development parcel, on the west end of the development parcel, that shouldn't really affect much of what's happening over here, other than just interaction with different contractors and what's going on and being aware of everybody's schedule and trying to not negatively impact their schedules. Although we are installing, with the water line that's going across the park, we are installing sewer services to the development parcel to get it out of the way of the park work. That's just on the west end of it. And I guess to step back to the park, the utilities that we're installing, there's a sewer service that's coming from kind of where the tongue of the trail is. We call it the tongue, and it goes diagonally across the grass. You can see the line, and then up to where the future restroom is going to be. And then we've got just shallow utility work, and that's really all the utility work through the park.
One more thing, I guess, just to back up. So the black lines, pretty typical property line, Catherine, kind of circle around the development on the west, the units themselves, not the restaurant.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so the black line is the property of the development, but you'll see this offset, and then the purple line, which is the limit of work for this bid, right? So a portion of that is in the park, but that's a layback zone for the private development. So our design had to kind of go through all of that. You'll see the design has this cohesive part where it goes through all of that and then up the side easement to the west, but that's not in this scope of work. So you're kind of building up right up to this layback where the private development is using that for their construction, being able to dig out for the foundations and stem walls and everything else.
Should we speak a little bit to how the concrete work will abut the restaurant work as well, or just note that needs to be coordinated?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward in a way.
Can you zoom into a bigger, is there a blow up version?
Yeah, zoom in a little bit. It's almost thinking about it from a zero lot line perspective. So the concrete, the stem wall and the patio of the restaurant comes right up to the property line, and then the pour of this, you know, colored banded plaza will go right up to that. So the biggest part of this is absolutely seamless communication and coordination with the contracting team that's with the private development, FCI. Part of it is, the nice thing is that we've got part of it, so if you kind of outline,
The landscape.
yeah, so a lot of it we did as softscape. Kind of anything,
So
yeah,
on the
right,
west side of-
right
west
into the
and south.
corner, and then it wraps where it says limit of work.
The
No,
white part.
Sorry,
Oh,
right
sorry.
along
Here, I can use my right hand. My left hand does not work. This area right here.
Yep, so that little band turns the corner, and then all the way in the corner is all softscape. So this can kind of be pouring up, and then at least a portion of this, you're not having to pour right up to the restaurant. But then the corner kind of to the northeast is pretty much right up to the restaurants. I think they have a concrete patio out there.
Yeah, the sidewalk. And, yeah, and then the front, the patio.
And then, yep, and then it meets up with the sidewalk of the Two Rivers scope of work. So that helps a little bit. You'll note in some of the details, kind of this funky thing that we had to do, right? There's areas where we're pouring the concrete and we're leaving these gaps, basically, where we're gonna plant trees in the crusher fines, or there's gonna be a misting feature. So this is going back a little bit to how are you leaving the site. So in the details, you'll notice pretty much in the bands where there's kind of these big white gaps, we're basically asking those to be filled with wood chips was the best solution we could come up with to make sure that it's still safe, but it's something that we can easily remove, you know, won't compromise those areas where we need to plant trees if we leave a few wood chips. That's okay. So you'd be taking the wood chips back out in phase 2, filling it with dirt to do trees, and then finishing it off with crusher fines, or a portion of that is the misting feature in phase 2. Super open to other ideas once the contractor is selected, but for now, pricing those as kind of the free wood chips that you can just dump into those areas would be great. Work hours, pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, work hours are pretty straightforward and standard for the town. Those are 7 to 7, Monday through Saturday. No work on holidays and no backup alarms before 8 a.m. A construction management plan will be required prior to start of construction to be approved by the town, so that, you know, we're sure you guys are coordinating with everyone. I just noted on here that, just to be aware that the construction staking will be supplied by the contractor, you know, not automatically by Sopris Engineering, but we can provide you CAD files as needed, or, you know, coordinate on that. The town will be hiring a geotech testing company for that which is required, but the contractor will need to coordinate on the timing and the timing of the testing required for the project. But we can obviously be in contact on that. The permits, I don't think you'll need a dewatering permit, but I just threw it on there in case you may. Also, it appears as though you will be disturbing more than an acre, so you'll need to obtain a state stormwater permit.
On the dewatering permit, I would anticipate groundwater. On normal years, the groundwater is 3 feet below the existing grade out there at the high water. I don't know what it's going to do this year. In the winter, it'll drop down to 5 feet below. So definitely when you get to the sewer, you're going to get in some water.
We're planning on a bid opening July 7th at 3:30. You can submit your bids to Town Hall here, and we'll receive them. I assume just at the front desk they'll take those, Susan?
And then we'll have a bid opening actually in this room.
Mhm.
We'll have an official bid opening, but you could just have them delivered to Town Hall.
Electronic bids accepted.
No, hard bids, or hard copy bids. The last day for questions will be that Friday prior, July 2nd. just because we'll need some time over that holiday weekend. We're hoping that if all stays on track, we'll be able to take a contract to council on July 13th for approval. And then we're a bit flexible on the start date, but we want to have the project well wrapped up by, the hope is by December 1st. So anyway, again, we're a little flexible on the start as long as you think you have enough time to complete the project hopefully by December. And if that just feels like an impossible task, I guess we'd love some feedback on that, about what you think a realistic timeline is, because we know materials and labor are all tough things to come by, it seems, at the moment. So anyway, we'd appreciate any feedback you guys might have on that. And I think that's about it, and we're open to questions.
Maybe just a couple other comments. One is that there are 3 sewer manholes that are on the property. Maybe, Stephanie, you could kind of point them out.
We can go to your drawings too.
There's one here. Can you zoom it out? Yes. All the way.
Oh, this side, hold on.
So there's one over here, there's one right here, and there's one down here.
And so to the extent that if Basalt Sanitation had to get in there and service their manholes, you'd have to provide that access. You know, they might be able not to have to go to all 3 of them, but just be aware of that. And just another comment about the importance of buttoning up the site. Most of the site is actually in the floodplain and floodway. And so that's really why, one reason we can't have a lot of unprotected dirt sitting around in the springtime. So one, we're trying to get ready for construction, so it's kind of a seamless construction. But the other thing in terms of the importance of the tactifier and buttoning it up is just that we are in a floodplain, and so in a floodway, so we can't have a lot of open dirt in the area. So I think those are the other couple points I just wanted to make. Anything that you wanted to emphasize, James, from the town's perspective?
Just the coordination with the different contractors, that's gonna be kind of key in the overall program.
I think it might be helpful to, after we get the bids in, to schedule weekly or bi-weekly meetings like we did at Willits, because that seemed to help, at least for the first couple months of construction.
You'll see graphically the limit of work. There is no work in the actual river. So it's just make sure you note that. No permits needed, nothing happening in the river itself.
All right, does anyone have any questions of us?
And we were going to follow this, obviously, by going out on the site. So we're going to go out on the site. You can still ask questions on site, and you can ask questions, up until July 2nd, you can ask questions. But if you have any questions or things that you think would take us more time to kind of think through, please ask now. Okay. Again, this isn't closing any questions. And I think Catherine and Stephanie and Heather and James are going to go out on site. And I don't think it needs to take that long, but it's always helpful to see it in real time, and it's right across the street. So with that, Amy, I think we can close the Zoom portion of this. And then this will also be available, before you do that, this also will be available. The town can email the link, and this Zoom meeting will be on the Grassroots community webpage, and you just navigate to Basalt, and you'll be able to find it pretty easily from there. So we can.
Thank you all.